It's WG, bring you SMB, and now we finally have the Night of the Hunt event live. It was meant to go live on reset, but apparently there were some hacker issues that have now been resolved with every one of them getting banned. So, let's talk about the Night of the Hunt event, and first off, rewards. How hard is it going to be to get the most important rewards? For most of you, it will be decently easy. Like the 2 million score and all these should be targets available for you all. The real challenge, I guess, would be if you want to try placing high on these rankings. Why would you want to place high on the rankings? You get like half a multi and a frame if you manage to make it into the top 50, but the way that gets calculated is your average throughout all these challenges needs to be the top 50. Now about points, you see how many points you get per each rank, and then if you add all your points together from the different events, you need to have a top 50 score. First off, we only have one challenge, and yes, this timer looks scary. Oh no, it's only 13 hours and 46 minutes, but if you click on the other challenges, you notice a pattern. This says Tuesday, Saturday, Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, which means this event is open Monday, Saturday, Sunday. So the real deal and the real time when this all gets decided isn't today, it is actually on Sunday, because that is the last day anybody can set a score. So on Sunday this whole thing gets decided, or pretty much shortly before reset into Monday, which is exactly 6 days and 14 hours from now. Alright, enough yapping, it's finally time to talk about the very first event. So, number one, the buffs. From the buffs, there is a couple ones you can use, but most of the time you definitely want to use this one, the Restless Noise one, because when the battle begins, it applies crit resist rate down, meaning the applied target takes or gets more crit rates, it becomes more vulnerable to crits. I think it's like a 40% bonus, the same that a Thibault does. And this one won't actually matter because it's only one enemy, so it's always going to apply. And then deep wounds, where when warriors or defenders deal damage, you apply physical damage taken up or magical damage taken up. Those are the two buffs. Then also you see a couple use the when battle begins, all allied melee units gain crit rate up and crit damage up if you're using just melee units instead of this red one. But for the most part, you're probably better off just picking this combination. It is by far the most popular. Now let's have a quick look at a couple teams just so you get an idea. This is the team I was using. So we have an Acapella, we have a Lamia, we have a Van Helsing, a 3-cost Small Moon, as well as a Ressa. Here for this second team, you see this is by far the more popular and might even be the highest scoring team, and that is a single target damage focused team. So you pretty much lead around Transcendent Hearty. So you see you have an Acapella, then a Transcendent Hearty, then again a low cost Small Moon, as well as a Van Helsing just for some extra damage. So this one is pretty much focusing on Hearty, on making debuffs explode and getting damage this way. And here we have a Summoner comp featuring Piera with single target damage, Noah with his summons, Transcendent Amy for her, Low Moon, and then again a Lamia. But overall, the most popular characters by far are going to be Lamia and Van Helsing. And the great part about Van Helsing is he does a lot of damage even if you do not ult with him. So now that we've got most of this out of the way, let's briefly talk about what you need to do in this stage. So you don't really have to worry about damage. This guy doesn't really do a whole lot of damage. What you do have to worry about is making sure you get your Blood Moon rotations out. So for example, that's the reason why we chose a Friedrich, because he's a Blood Moon with 3 cost. You could also be using, for example, a Starry-Eyed Aeona. Would work too, but yeah, I'm just using Friedrich because he does a tiny bit more damage than a healer. Acapella, pretty unreplaceable because you get the Blood Soul recovery, the crit rate, the magic damage, the physical damage. It's just incredible. And then Van Helsing, we have him here as our off DPS, so a unit that can deal damage even without the ultimate. So you're looking for someone that deals a lot of damage with their basic attacks. Could also be something like a Gilrain. You can definitely try a Gilrain. So look for something that preferably does a lot of damage but doesn't need to use their ultimate. Our main focus is going to be Lamia, and my top secret weapon I share with you is we actually found a piece of content in which you can do something with a Ressa. And I guess I'll be showing you the rotation. This is the starting hand with Acapella, Friedrich, and Lamia. But I don't know. By no means do I expect that I'll be holding the first place by the end of this event. Let's get into the fight and let me show you what we're doing. So for this fight, we'll just run it on 2 times speed. So we want to start off with an Acapella, so we can actually get that rage out, and then we're going to use a Friedrich for that low moon, new moon, right? And our goal for this team is to actually use Lamia's ult as many times as possible. So this is Lamia ult number 1, then we get more rage regen. Then here you actually wait for the moon to time out, so you can start on building the next moon with this one. This is going to be Lamia ult number 2. And then we bring in an Acapella, and you see it's a 0 cost. That's great, because now we can use the ultimate for free. And we also then get a Lamia right behind to then use Lamia's ultimate again. We get stunned right here, so we can again increase the rage regen. We can start building towards the new moon. We can then once more whip out a Lamia whenever we can. Then again an Acapella, and you see once more 0 cost, easy swap to a Lamia card right here for extra damage, as well as then as soon as we can, obviously, we want to start with building our next moon rotation. Here we can actually start the moon early with the Ressa, because time is running a bit short. And then we just pretty much want to go through as much as possible. And another ult right here, hopefully. And one more. And if we're lucky, we can get through potentially a couple more Lamia ults, if everything goes well. Not quite. So this is pretty much just the theme of the fight. For us, it's trying to use Lamia's ultimate as much as possible. It is also very much reflected in the damage calculation. You see we have over 57% of our damage coming from Lamia. But Van Helsing, very respectable 1.4 million, considering he never ulted. And Ressa, we basically use the ultimate for free or at minimum 1 cost, and having a 3rd DPS that can also put up 1.3 million is, in my opinion, pretty darn good. So this is how I took on the first stage. You can pretty much copy a similar strategy, and especially if you're using Van Helsing, use them as a off DPS. If you're using a Lamia, try to use Lamia's ult as many times as possible, just because she's going to be your main DPS. If you have a Transcendent Hearty, I don't, make sure that you actually swap over to a Trans-Hearty-esque strategy. You can also try out Transcendent Hearty together with a Triss, and then you can use that Triss to apply a whole bunch of induction stacks, as well as overall a lot of single target damage, and try to trigger the induction effect with her ultimate. So there's still a lot of things to figure out, but I just wanted to kind of show you like the day 1 release, first 2 hours process. So yeah, as always, we see each other in the next one. Peace!